Welcome everybody. Welcome to White City Place Connect, where we're offering occupiers of White City Place a live platform from which to learn and engage from the comfort and safety of your own homes. Let's begin in child's pose today. We'll come onto our mats. That's all you're going to be needing, your bodies and your mats. And just before we settle into this pose, we'll perhaps warm up the feet a little. So if you come onto your hands and your knees, bring your knees a little bit wider than the hips, and take your right foot onto the arch of your left foot. So crossing the arches rather than the ankles, crossing the feet. And then just come to gently sit down. Just be careful, cautious and gentle with your knees here. Maybe do a little wiggle with your hips across your heels. Now the bones in your top foot may feel quite intense here, especially through that long plantar fascia tendon that can be a little bit tender here. So just see if you can find that sweet spot where it doesn't want to be painful, but you may feel a little bit of pressure and sensation in that foot. Coming up, we're going to change the cross. So crossing the arches rather than the ankles or the shins. And again, take a little rock from side to side. Finding that place where it feels just a sense of release. Bringing a little bit of an awareness to our feet. And we'll come back up, uncross the feet, bring the big toes to touch. Come and sit upright for a moment, and we'll bring the knees in a little bit. So they're a little bit wider than the hips, but perhaps not too much. Lean forward, grab a hold of the flesh of the buttocks, and draw it out of the waist so you can feel the sit bones, hooking them over your heels here. So you've got a little anchor there. Turn the palms upwards, just the fingertips are resting on the floor. Slide the heart up the sternum as you inhale, so just the essence of a back bend. And then as you exhale, you can come forward, belly, rib cage. Maybe the forehead comes to the floor. You might want to support the forehead with a block. Or if you're not at all comfortable here, your hips are quite high, you can change your hand position and place your hands underneath your forehead. The arms are by your sides, just allow the shoulders to roll around and down, relaxing the elbows, relaxing the wrists. And tucking the chin in a little bit so the back of the neck doesn't collapse. There's a sense of buoyancy to the back of the neck, face softening downwards. Here in our child's pose, we're invited to turn the senses inwards. There's a Sanskrit word for this, pratyahara, and it's a prerequisite to a meditation practice. So consciously turning the senses inwards. And what we find there, apart from sensations in the body that we may have been pushing away or ignoring or slightly aware of, but just not really wanting to acknowledge them, also the breath. You may feel the breath moving in the front of the body, against and away from the resistance of your thighs. You may feel the side body breathing. And also, but perhaps a little bit more quietly, to listen and sense a little bit more acutely the back body breathing. We're so much more familiar with the fronts of ourselves, with the sensory organs in our face. This is the way we lead and communicate in life. But here we're cultivating an awareness of the back of our body, which in yoga is associated with something greater than ourselves. Front body, the ego; back body, the divine. And also the back of the body provides us support. There's that lovely saying, I've got your back. So as you take a fuller inhalation now, feel the body breathing wide. And as you exhale, feel the spine growing long, reaching away in opposite directions through the crown of the head and the perineum. As you inhale, body breathes wide. As you exhale, breathing long. Take a few more breaths on your own with this sensation, visualization, directing the breath in this pattern. Let's bring the hands now onto the floor by the face, so the thumbs are more or less in line with cheekbones. Just soften the elbows in. And roll the forehead from temple to temple. So without actually turning the head by using the neck muscles much, that of course they will be engaging, but more from rolling from point to point, from the momentum, passing across the forehead, just ironing out any unwanted thoughts, calming down the frontal lobe of the brain, which is the thinking, cognitive part of our brain. And also a really nice way to release pressure in the cranial bones, any kind of hay fever or sinus blockages that may be arising at this time of year. Come to the center here, and first by lifting the pelvic floor, take an inhale, pelvis lifts off the heels, roll from the forehead to the crown of the head, scooping up the belly. Use the hands to support the neck so there's not too much weight down through the head if you have any issues with your neck. And then roll back down as you exhale. Inhaling, pelvic floor, hips, scoop the belly in. Roll from forehead towards the crown of the head, and then as you exhale, roll down. And just be present to the sensations as you do this a few more times, noticing if there's any tenderness in this part of your skull. Might feel really lovely, releasing. The cranial bones have a little bit of movement in them, so again, we can release some pressure, just shift things around a little bit in that space. And then coming to sit down on your heels. Let's stretch the arms forward. Hop up onto the tips of your fingers, so making little tent shapes or little cup shapes with your hands. And walk the thumbs to touch one another. So you might want to lift your head off the floor just to see this. Elbows stay lifted. Curl the outer edges of your shoulder blades around and down. And then the head can either rest in line with the upper arms, or you can release the forehead back down onto the block or onto the floor. And there's an upward lift to the armpits, to the elbows, to the center of each palm here. Activating the muscles around the shoulder blades. Then walking the fingertips out to the side so they're in line with your shoulders. Lifting your shoulder heads up away from the earth and shoulder blades down the back. So there's lots of space around the neck. Then reaching the fingertips back as if they were reaching towards the back corners of your mat. Keeping the elbows lifted once again. Shoulders lifting away from the earth. Interlacing your fingers and resting your thumbs onto your sacrum. And maybe allowing the knuckles to fly up towards the ceiling a little bit here. Curling the shoulders around towards the spine. We could roll again across the forehead towards the left temple. Left shoulder to knee, look up towards the right as you inhale. Little twist of the shoulder girdle. Exhale, roll across, right shoulder to knee, look up towards the left shoulder as you inhale. One more time each side. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Come back through to the center. Drop the thumbs onto the sacrum here. And stretch your arms forward once again. Let's pop up onto hands and shins here, leaving the hands where they are. Just parallel the shins, the toes are behind the knees, draw the shoulder blades up the back. As you exhale, lift your tailbone, dive your chest and chin to the floor. Slide through as you inhale. Exhale, lift your navel and come and sit back down into this parallel shins child's pose. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, chest and chin. Inhale, glide through. Exhale, lift your navel. And as you sit back this time, lift your fingers off the floor, make a stop sign with your hand. One more time. Inhaling, coming up. Exhale, chest and chin. Inhale, glide through. Exhale, draw back, lifting the palms and fingers off the floor. Coming up onto your hands and your knees, bring the shins together, tucking your toes, hug the inner ankle bones in and walk yourself back so you're sitting on your heels. Now, if this becomes excruciating for your toes, you could always untuck them and sit onto the tops of your feet, or find an entirely different seated position here. Try to lift up to the pelvic floor so you're not bearing the whole weight of the body down onto those toes. And hug the outer ankle bones in, interlacing the fingers, turn the palms away. Take a big inhale as you raise your arms. Exhale, release the arms around and down. Inhale, slide the heart up the sternum, puff up the chest. Exhale, come forward, belly, rib cage. Keep the sit bones towards the heels. Maybe forehead comes to the floor, maybe it's hanging. Pull the knuckles back as you come up. Keep the chin towards the chest. And then take the palms in front of you, turning them away. Curl your tailbone under, scoop the belly back, stretch across the back of your shoulder blades. Take an inhale, rise up. Exhale, release the arms around and down. Inhale, slide the heart up the sternum, lift the gaze, exhale, way forward. Inhale, pull the knuckles back as you come up, keep chin to chest. Curl the back, navel to spine, heart drops back. And then this time as you inhale, you're going to rise all the way up. Melting the shoulders, earlobes over the shoulders. Twist towards the left, slightly driving your left pelvic bone forward. So the hips stay anchored, the twist moves from the middle into the upper back. Float back around towards the center and twist to the other side, driving your right pelvic bone forward. Come back through to the center. And really slowly you're going to release the arms, let them float down. Feel the arm bones reaching out from the sockets. Just be present to all that tingling, the blood returning to the extremities, through the elbow joints, forearms, wrists, into the fingers. We can come back onto our hands and our knees here. And you might want to untuck and maybe even tap the tops of your feet a little bit. And if that's a little bit tender, you can go a little bit softer. And then tucking the toes again, feet and knees are still together. Hands want to be a little bit further forward. We're going to float into our first down dog with your two legs making one leg here. And keep the knees bent if the hamstrings are a little taut or tight this morning, and fan out the toes, spreading the weight across the metatarsals. Hands are wider than the shoulders. Just coming back to a rhythmic breath. Step the feet as wide as the mat. Outer heels in line with the little toe joints. And pushing down through your right palm, swing your hips over to the left. So this lovely diagonal stretch away from your center. Imagine your navel ran all the way through to the back of the body, from right shoulder blade to left hip. Come back through to the center. Press down to the left palm, swing your hips to the right. So lovely diagonal stretch from right hip through to left shoulder blade. And then one breath, one movement. Inhale as you pass through. Exhale, swing the hips to the left. Inhale, pass through. Exhale, swing the hips to the right. Come back through to the center. Float forward into plank, hugging the thigh muscles around the bones as you do this. So the feet are still wide hips, a wide-handed, wide-legged plank. Lift your hips up and back as you exhale. 2 more times. Inhaling. Keep the front of your body toned. Back of the abdominal wall lifting towards the inner spine. Exhale. One more time. Inhaling. Exhaling. And walking the hands back towards the feet. Come and stand at the back of your mat with your feet as wide as the mat again. And just as you bend one knee and then the other, think of snuggling the belly inside the thighs a little bit. Let the head go. Knees can be as bent as you need them to be. Release the toes. And reach around with your arms, interlacing the hands once again, thumbs onto the sacrum. Let the knuckles fly off the back. And take your left shoulder towards your left knee as you exhale. Look up towards the right shoulder as you twist. Inhale. Pass through on the exhale. Right shoulder to knee. Look up towards the left shoulder. Inhale. One more time each side. Exhaling. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Wonderful. Drop your thumbs onto the sacrum. Release the fingertips to the floor. Look forward along your mat as you walk yourself back into a wide-legged down dog. Lifting the hips up and back. Looking forward, could you step your right foot to the outside of your right hand, moving the hand in so the foot can be on the mat. Left foot to the outside of your left hand so the feet are mat width once again. Sit down to come into a flat back, opening the arms out to the sides. And deepen the creases in the tops of your thighs here. Back of the neck stays long. Press the heels down into the mat and away from one another to really activate all these muscles around the tops of the thighs and the glutes. And then again, interlace the fingers. Change the interlace. It's the one that feels a little odd. Opposite little finger on the outside. Lift your sit bones and come forward once again. Sliding the backs of your thighs up towards your sit bones. And dropping the thumbs onto the sacrum. Fingertips to the floor here. Take the hands onto the hips and pulling your hips, drawing your hips off your waist as you come all the way up to standing. Wiggle your feet at hip distance apart. Release your arms down by your sides as you reach towards your outer ankles. Curl the shoulders around. Soften the knees and slide the heart up the sternum a little bit. Turn the palms outwards. Take a big inhale as you reach up. As you exhale, fly forward and touch the earth. Ardha Uttanasana, you lengthen the heart forward into space. Belly comes slightly off the thighs. Exhale, step back with your left toes into your lunge. Lower your back knee down here. Push into the front foot and raise the arms. Open up the palms of the hands. Take the thumbs back. Exhale, take the hands to the floor. Lift the back knee. Plank position. Let's stay with knees, chest and chin. Through into a little cobra. Lift the navel, tuck the toes. Take it back into a downward facing dog. Feet are hip distance apart now. Raise your heels as you inhale. Sink your heels as you exhale. And again, inhaling. Exhaling. Step your left foot a little closer to your right, and as you sink the left heel, the right leg floats up behind you. Look forward into the space between your hands, bend the knee through, step the foot in between the hands, come onto your fingertips. Glide your back foot forward, feet are hip distance apart, soften the knees, hands onto the hips, draw your hips off your waist to come all the way up. And just anchor down there. Give the hips a little bit more weight so the sides of the waist feel even longer. Soften the knees. Release your arms down. Turn the palms, puff the chest a little. Take a big inhale as you reach up. Exhale, fly forward and touch the earth. Inhale, lift and lengthen your heart. Exhale, step back with your left, right toes even. Lower your back knee to the floor. Push into the foot, rise up. Spread the palms, send the thumbs back. Hips come forward. Exhale, plant the palms to the earth. Lift the back knee. Step back into a high plank. Again, knees, chest and chin. Keep breathing through this. Exhale, tuck your toes. Downward facing dog. Raise your heels as you inhale. Sink your heels as you exhale. Lift your toes so you roll towards the ball back of each foot. Back ball of each foot. Release the pads of the toes down. Step the right foot a little closer to your left. Sink the right heel as the left leg floats up. Look forward to step the foot in between the hands. Come onto the tips of your fingers. Glide your back foot forward to fold. Let the head go. Take the hands onto the hips. Drawing the hips off the waist as you come all the way up to standing. Releasing the arms down. Take a big inhale. Let's continue with our flow. Just moving energy to the body as you exhale. Lift and lengthen your heart. Step back with your left toes into your lunge. Lower your back knee down to the floor. Reach your arms forward as you come up. Inhale. Exhale, bring the hands into prayer. Twist, take the left elbow onto the top or to the outside of the thigh. Start to lift the heart space towards the thumbs. Lift and release your front toes so there's no gripping there. And notice if you're leaning forward, if you're curling around towards that right knee, you might need to lean your shoulder blades back into the center of the room a little bit. Lift away from the thigh as you continue to breathe. So you're trying to find that balance between too much effort and too little effort here. You can stay here, or if you wish, keeping the hips low, lift the back knee and press the heel away. And take the weight through the pelvis and into that back foot as you take this into a balance. Wherever you are with the knee up or the knee down, release the fingertips to the floor. You can then lift the back knee off the floor. Take a little exhale, a little hamstring stretch. Not forcing that front leg straight, and inhale, bend. 2 more times, exhaling. Keep those front toes down, inhale. Try to be a little bit lighter on the fingertips. Exhale. Inhaling, planting the palms down. Slide the right foot back into a high plank. You can stay with knees, chest and chin, or move towards a chaturanga. Into your up dog. Lift your navel, roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths here as you pause, reset, recalibrate. Just come home to this pose. Step the left foot a little closer to the right foot. Sink your left heel, float your right leg up behind you. Look forward into the space between your hands. Step your foot forward onto the fingertips. Glide your back foot forward to fold. Let's stay with the hands onto the hips to come up, softening the knees. Keep the chin in as you lengthen your heart forward. Anchoring the hips downwards. So from the navel, everything is rooting into the earth, and from the navel, everything is rising. Release the fingertips down as they slide towards the outer ankles. Turn the palms forward. Take a big inhale. Exhale, fly forward and touch the earth. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, step back with the right toes into your lunge. Lower your back knee down, push into the front foot, reaching the arms forward, spread the palms, spread the fingers. Hit the thumbs into prayer. Twist right elbow onto the top or to the outside of your thigh. Pulling that left hip back a little bit here. Create one long line with your forearms. And see if you can find that balance between trying to really yank yourself around into a twist and just kind of hanging out here. You want to take it a stage further, keeping the hips low, lift the back knee, press the heel away, and shift the weight through the pelvis. It's a little bit more balanced through the center. A couple of breaths. With the knee up or the knee down, release the fingertips to the floor. The knees down, you can lift it now. Take a little exhale, little hamstring stretch. Inhale back into your lunge. Exhaling. Inhaling. One more time. Exhale. Inhale, plant the palms, step back into a high plank. Chaturanga or knees, chest and chin through into your up dog or cobra. Lift the navel, roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Let's lower the knees to the floor here for a moment. Keep the toes tucked. Come and sit down onto the heels. And rolling yourself up to sit on the heels. Reaching the arms up as you come onto the knees. Circle the arms, taking the thumbs onto the top of the sacrum. And as you draw those two bony protrusions, those two sacroiliac joints down towards the sit bones, curl the elbows towards one another. Slide the heart up the sternum, little essence of a back bend or front body stretch. However it's useful for you to think about it. We're keeping this space between the lower ribs, the top of the sacrum here. Come back by connecting the lower ribs and the pelvic bones. And come to sit down onto the heels, stretching your arms forward. Come up onto hands and knees as you inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your right foot a little closer to your left foot. And as you sink the right heel, the left leg floats up behind you. Step the foot forward in between the hands. Glide your back foot forward to fold. Hands onto the hips, draw the hips off the waist as you come all the way up to standing here. Release the arms down as you reach towards the ankles. Lift the moons of your armpits. Take an inhale as your arms float up. Exhale, fly forward and touch the earth. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Keep the chin in so you lead with your heart rather than your head. Exhale, release down. Step back with your left toes into your lunge. Pushing into the front foot, reach the arms forward up and into high lunge here. Stay anchored to the ball of your back foot. Come forward, forward, forward. Touch the earth briefly and inhale, recoil. 2 more times. Come forward, forward, forward. Inhale, recoil. 1 more time. Exhaling. Inhaling. Hands into prayer, twisting the left elbow onto the top or outside of the thigh. You can lower the back knee down if this feels too much. If you wanted to play a little bit, then look down beyond your right toes. Shift the weight over and see if you might be lifting up this back leg. Maintain a little bit of the twist here. You can keep the supporting leg bent. And stepping back, falling over possibly. Right elbow comes onto the top of the thigh. Back heel comes in and down. So you bring your right forearm onto your thigh here. Raise up the left arm. So just have a little look at your feet if you need to. Your front heel more or less in line with the arch of the foot. And then you want to open up the chest, leaning the shoulder blades back. A couple of breaths. Shoulder blades are drawing down the back. As you push into the front foot, make your way up into a warrior two. So you rise up, turn the toes in, arms come up by your ears, inhale, exhale, spin the feet towards the left and descend. Inhaling, turning the toes in, reaching up, exhale, spin the feet towards the right and descend. Inhale, turn the feet parallel, arms come up by the ears and draw the thumbs down towards your heart, spinning heels in a little bit, dropping down into a wide-legged squat. You just shift the weight from foot to foot here, playing around with your center of gravity until you find that spot where you're right in the center. Release the fingertips to the floor, keep the knees pressing away, and then spinning the heels out, lengthening through the body, and then releasing, navel lifts towards the spine, let your head go. You can have your knees bent here, a little softness to the backs of your knees if they're straight. Couple of breaths. You come up onto the tips of the fingers. Walk yourself back around towards your right foot. Bring the back foot a little closer if you need to. It's going to be a warrior one stance with the heel down. You can have a look at your feet and make sure the heels are not crossing. If anything, you might want a little bit of width between the inner heels here. Before you come up, have a sense that you're drawing your right thigh bone back, as if you had your thumb in the crease where the thigh meets the pelvis, in that fleshy part, drawing it back. Push down through both feet and float your arms out to the sides here. Wrapping your right forearm around the lower back, so it's kind of resting on the mound of the glutes here. And the left hand comes onto the back of your skull, base of your skull. We're going to stretch between these 2 points, between the forearm and the palm, between the sacrum and the cranium. Slide the heart up the sternum. So again, maybe a little essence of a back bend here. Supporting the head, keeping the neck long. Couple of breaths. Lower ribs, pelvic bones move towards one another. Arms float out to the sides. Turn the palms up. Arms come up by the ears. Come forward, forward, forward. Keeping the thumbs lifted. So you're laying over your thigh. And then continue with the fingertips to the floor in front of you. Slide the hands back. Swivel up your back heel. And step back into a high plank. Chaturanga up dog, or knees, chest and chin, or no vinyasa at all. Listen to your body and what it is that you need from your practice just in this moment. It may be different in the next vinyasa. And back into your downward facing dog. Step your left foot a little closer to your right. Sink the left heel. Float your right leg up behind you. Step the foot forward in between the hands. Step your back foot forward to fold. Fingertips around the fronts of your hip bones. Keep the chin in. Lengthen forward through the heart to come all the way up. Anchoring down through the pelvic bones. Release your arms down by your sides. Turn the palms forward. Take a big inhale as you reach up. Exhale, fly forward and touch the earth. Inhale, lift and lengthen your heart. Exhale, step back with the right toes into your lunge. Press down to the feet as you reach your arms forward, coming up. Palms are facing one another. Melt the shoulders. Anchor through the ball of your back foot as you come forward, forward, forward. Briefly touch the earth. And then inhale, recoil. Exhaling, forward, forward, forward. Inhale, recoil. And again, exhaling. Inhaling. Hands into prayer, twist. Elbow onto the top of the thigh or outside of the thigh. Staying here if you wish. Drawing the tips of the shoulder blades down the back. Lowering the back knee if you feel. Or third option, looking beyond your front toes onto the earth. shifting the weight over and maybe floating this back leg up. It's a little bit of a balance with a twist. You take the foot down whenever you need to. You can have another go or not. And then taking left elbow onto the top of the thigh. Right heel comes down. Just the feet, if you need to wiggle that left a little bit further forward. Forearm onto thigh. Right arm rises. Lifting out of that bottom shoulder. And pushing into that front foot as the arms float out to the side, warrior two. Inhale, turn the toes in, reach up. Swivel the feet, drop down vertically through the spine, gazing towards the right fingertips. Inhale, toes turn in, reach up. Exhale, pivot towards the left, drop down. Inhaling. Exhaling, draw your thumbs down your midline to your heart space. Heels drawing both of them together, this time dropping down. Vatsayasana, horse stance. Release the fingertips to the floor, press the knees away. And then spinning the heels out, lift and lengthen through your heart. This time, take the right fingertips to the center of the pose. You've made a little tripod here between your toes and your fingers. Left hand comes onto the sacrum. Lift out of your right shoulder. Spine extends forward. And it's from that lengthening that we can move into the twist. You'll already find the body starting to rotate in that direction. So we move into the spaces between the vertebrae. This is where the twist resides. Maybe the left arm floats up. Check that the chin isn't lifting too much. The back of the neck stays long. Maybe that left arm wraps around the lower back, and it might even tuck fingers onto the top of that thigh, just anchoring that thigh back a little bit here as you continue to extend. If you wanted to go even further, then start to lean the shoulder blades over towards the right toes. So you're veering your spine off center, and then make it back through to the center here. Left arm floats up. Swapping hands. Left fingertips to the floor, right hand onto the sacrum. Lengthen your spine forward. As you find that length, find that space, the twist is already happening. Perhaps you're floating your right arm up. The arm could wrap around the lower back, so all of these are options. Keep it simple if you wish. Anchoring back to the top of that left thigh. And maybe even veering your spine over towards the left leg, slightly off center. Make your way back. Spine first. Arm rises, hand floats to the floor, navel lifting, releasing, cascading forward, crown of the head coring towards the earth. Soften the knees if you need to. And then walking yourself around towards your left foot. Bring your back foot in a little bit if you need to shorten your stance. Give yourself a bit of width between the heels. Draw your left hip back in space so that the sacrum is flattish before you even come up here. Using both legs to press down, arms float out to the sides. It's a warrior one pose. Left forearm comes onto the mound of the glutes, right hand onto the shelf of your skull. And you're stretching between these 2 points as the heart slides up the sternum. Supporting the head. Breathing, keeping that nice deep lunge, releasing any gripping in your front toes. And opening the arms out to the sides, turning the palms up, reaching the arms up by your ears, floating forward here. And then the tips of your little fingers come to touch the floor as far away as you can. Slide the hands to the floor. Step back into a high plank. Knees, chest and chin. Chaturanga up dog, or you might even just wish to lower the knees. Come and sit down onto the heels. This can be your transition. A little interval, and then come back into your downward facing dog. Step your right foot a little closer to the left, and as you sink your right heel, the left leg floats up behind you. Step the foot forward in between the hands. Glide your back foot forward to fold. Coming all the way up to standing, we'll take the hands onto the hips and come up here. Reach the arms down towards your ankles. Turn the palms forward. Take a big inhale. Exhale, fly forward and touch the earth. Inhale, step back with your left toes into your lunge. We're going to be building here. Reaching your arms forward, come up as you inhale. Just once this time, exhale, come forward, touch the earth. Inhale, come up. Back heel comes in and down. Open the arms into your warrior two. Straighten up, turn the toes in, arms up by the ears. Swivel the heels, drop vertically down. Warrior two to the left. Inhaling. Draw up from the pelvic floor. Exhale over towards the right. Raise your right arm up by your ear. Keep the left arm lifted. So it's not a reverse warrior. Spine is vertical. Palm is facing out. Send the back of your right knee joint even further forward and feel that beautiful space between the hip and the armpit here on the right side. Maybe the fingertips float to the floor. You could have a brick if you need it, or maybe hand onto shin or ankle, left arm rises. Draw the shoulder blades back. Couple of breaths here. Keep the tailbone lengthening towards the back heel. Perhaps the top shoulder starts to turn and the arm reaches over by the cheek. Take the fingertips to the floor, turning your toes in here. Turn your left toes out about 10 degrees. Walk yourself across to that foot. Place the elbow inside of the shin. So it's a side lunge, both heels are down. Using that right left elbow to anchor the knee backwards. Coming back up, turning the toes in and walking yourself around towards the right. Take the back foot to the floor, heel in and down. Make sure the feet are a little bit wider than one another. Push into the foot. We're coming back into this warrior one with the arms out to the sides. Interlace the fingers behind you. Curl your belly, rib cage, and shoulders slightly inside the thigh. And come forward here into a humble warrior. Let the head hang off the neck. Glide your right hip inwards. Imagine the right sit bone is moving towards your left toes. Maybe the front knee bends a little bit more, as if the crown of the head were to come to touch the floor. Releasing any gripping in the front toes. And drop your thumbs onto your sacrum. Square the shoulders over the front knee. Release the hands to the floor. Swivel up your back heel. We're just going to step back into a downward facing dog. And let's lower the knees down for a brief moment in child's pose. Any child that feels comfortable for you. Just returning, reducing, coming back to the breath in this moment. Letting go of everything you've just done, everything that's to come. Bala means child, but it also means strength. So we come into this pose to regain our strength, recalibrate our breath. And stretching the arms out in front of you. When you're ready, come up onto hands and knees, tuck your toes, down facing dog. Step your left foot a little closer to your right. Sink the left heel as the right leg floats up. Scissoring the legs. Bend the knee through, step the foot in between the hands. Glide your back foot forward to fold. Soften the knees. Take the hands onto the hips. Pull your hips off your waist as you come all the way up. Release your arms down. Reach towards the outer ankles. Take a big inhale as you reach up. Last of our standing poses, this last side. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, step back with the right toes. Pushing to the front foot, floating the arms forward and up. Come forward, forward, forward on the exhale. Touch the earth briefly. Inhale, recoil. Back heel down. Open up into your warrior two. Rise up as the toes turn in. Reach up by the ears. Exhale, swivel the feet. Descend vertically towards the right. Inhaling, toes turn up. Reach up. Turn in. Exhaling. Holding it here. Leaving the back arm lifted, the right arm lifted. Float the left arm by the cheek, the palm is facing outwards. And as you send the back of the left knee forward a little bit, then you're creating all this beautiful space between the hip and the armpit. Lengthening to that left side as you reach up. And then floating with that long underneath side of the body. Fingertips to the floor or palm of the hand to the floor. Maybe a brick or a block. If it's too much, you can stay on your thigh. You can look up, look to the center, or look down. And if you just need to release your neck, you can look down and then look up again. Tailbone lengthening towards that back heel. Maybe turn the shoulder, arm comes over by the cheek as you reach out. Floating both sets of fingertips to the earth, the left toes turn in, the right toes turn out. Come into a side lunge. As you walk your fingertips over towards the right, anchor that right elbow inside the shin. Press the knee away. And then coming back and all the way over towards your left foot. Step the back foot in a little bit. Warrior one stance. Pressing down through the feet to come all the way up, arms out to the sides. Keep changing the interlace of the hands here. Opposite little finger on the outside. Turn the shoulders slightly in, and then as you come forward, the belly, the rib cage, maybe even the shoulder slides inside of the knee. Left sit bone moving in towards your right toes. And just yielding, softening into this lunge. As if the crown of the head was to touch the floor. Drop the thumbs onto the sacrum. Square the shoulders over the knee. Release the hands to the floor. Swivel up the back heels. Step back into your downward facing dog. Lower knees to the earth. Keeping the toes tucked. And walk your hands back so you're sitting on your heels. If you need some extra padding for your knees, you could always roll the top edge of your mat over. Yeah, let's try that. I'm going to rise up here, arms come just to shoulder level, fingers to shoulder level. Draw the elbows back into the sockets. Engage the core muscles and just leaning back with a flat back. You might not go very far off center, maybe just a couple of inches here, and then come back. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. So perhaps the arms could come down. You might find your heels. And you press the thighs forward, puff up the chest, keep the sit bones lengthening down. So we're moving this back bend into the thoracic spine. Chin can stay towards the chest. If you want to try to take the head back, tuck the chin in and roll it back slowly. Looking forward, draw the pelvic bones and hip bones towards one another as you come back up. Untuck your toes. Come and sit down onto the heels. Might want to unroll your mat again here. And we'll open the arms out to the sides and take a little twist in this child's pose. So left arm comes under, right arm comes over the lower back. Perhaps one side of the head or cheek comes to the floor, the head may be lifted. Push down to the shins, let the arms out and up. And the right arm comes under, the left arm comes over. Make your way up here. Maybe bringing the knees together and taking the heels of the hands just up onto the tops of your thighs. Draw the elbows and shoulders towards one another, tuck the chin in. So you might find that the arms straighten, kind of locking out the elbows, shoulders come up by the ears. So find this delicious kind of traction and length in the back. Release. And then just one more here to release the lower back after that back bend of our camel pose. Just make one fist, take the other hand over the top, place it into your belly, below your navel above the pubis. Knees are slightly apart, and then come forward over this. So there's a little bit of pressure here in the gastric plexus. And you can breathe into this fist shape. And slowly make your way up out of this. Great. Let's bring the knees together, sink the hips to one side, and we'll come into a forward bend. We'll take this with a Baddha Konasana shaped legs, a slightly longish diamond shape. Smooth the flesh of the buttocks out of the way. I'm going to flex the feet and press the little toe edges of the feet down into the earth. Take the hands onto the shins, lift the heart, and then walking the hands forward to come over the legs. Elbows drop outside. Hands can be in inner arches or maybe even over the tops of your toes or any other position. You might be much more upright, you might just be here. It's totally fine wherever you are. Soften the face, soften the jaw. Close your eyes or take a soft focus. And slowly coming up out of this, picking your hands back up. Shins, draw the knees together. Come towards the front of your mat, sit bones to heels. And roll yourself down to the earth. Draw the knees towards the chest. And mold the hands over the fronts of the kneecaps, just circling the knees in the same direction. Massaging around the outer rim of your pelvis. First in one direction, and then in the opposite direction. Perhaps finishing with just a gentle twist, dropping the knees to one side. And raising the top knee first, and then the bottom knee. You can take the legs over to the other side. It's just a passive twist. Letting go of the legs. Top knee, bottom knee, hugging the knees towards you for the last time. Chin slightly down. And making yourself comfortable for Shavasana. Last few minutes. Knees can be bent, legs can be outstretched. Make sure you're warm and comfortable. Just beginning to settle. If you feel a desire to stay here a little longer, then please, if you can, do so. If you know you need to finish your practice on time, you'd like to conclude with myself, and just slowly begin your return to the physical body, to the weight and contact of your body on the earth. The breath, the global sense of yourself is perhaps a little more integrated and whole. And without disturbing any sense of peace and spaciousness that may have arisen, will be present for you right now. Just begin to make some small movements. Or if you need, you can take a big stretch, arms overhead. And either just quietly rolling yourself over to the right side or hugging the knees in. And from the right side, the left hand comes to the floor to help support your way back to any comfortable seat. Bring the hands into prayer, flats of your thumbs to the forehead for clarity of thought, to your lips for satya, truthfulness of word, and to your heart for love in action. And with an open heart and perhaps a slightly quieter mind, gently open your eyes. Namaste. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a